Okay, all right. Well, now's as good a time as any. Hello, everyone. I'm Papagan, and welcome to another week of There's a Place, the ASMR talk show, the talk show that feels good to hear. I wanted to start off this week by talking about one of my pet peeves, my biggest pet peeves. I try to be an easygoing guy, but some things just really irk me. And my biggest pet peeve lately has been people that are fake weird. What was what I mean by that? That was real weird. Fake weird is someone who is just being weird for the sake of being weird. And I think it comes out of not knowing what kind of identity they want, not knowing who they are. Really, I should be thinking of these people with pathos. But I was at the Doodah Parade this weekend, which is like the Rose Parade, but for weird people. And there was some good weird stuff, but a lot of weird weekend warriors. Weekend weird warriors. These are people who only get weird a couple days out of the year on the weekend, and they use the Doodah Parade to dress up in a Hawaiian shirt and color their hair green and act weird when they're really not weird. These people are accountants, they own manufacturing firms, things like that, but they use this as their excuse to be like, oh, I'm so weird. And so as a result of that, you know, it kind of opens the floodgates. So these people were not only pretending to be weird, but I noticed that they were like really uptight. There were children all over the parade throwing tortillas at the floats, and this is not a new tradition at the parade. Every year, that's part of it, part of the fun. These adults were getting angry at the children for throwing tortillas. They were just using because they're not satisfied with their lives, that's why they're acting weird. They're using any excuse to exert some power, some sort of control. So after seeing that very sorry display, fun parade, but some real squares there, I was eating dinner Sunday evening. There's, Thai restaurant, Glendale. It's very quiet, not a lot of people in the restaurant. And this dude comes in, he's about 42. He's got a fedora, black rim glasses, the Buddy Holly ones that everybody has, an orange jacket, green hair, and he's wearing these pants, and the pattern of the pants look like dollar bills. So I was like, oh God, this guy. So he comes in, and the waitress is like, oh, for two? He's like, no, we're gonna be a big party. So over the course of my meal, just one person after another comes in like this who are the type of person who would be friends with this guy. There's a woman in a cat suit. There was a woman with a wig on. There's one guy pulls up on a motorcycle. He's wearing all black leather, got a shaved head, got the biker beard. He takes off his helmet, and before he comes into the restaurant, he starts smoking a cigar, and he hangs out outside of the restaurant till he finishes his cigar. So they're taking shots, they're having a good time. An old Continental pulls up, and the license plate said One Evil. It was supposed to be Evil One, but I guess they couldn't get that one. So I mean, these people were just really hurt. At one point, a couple of them go outside, and big, glass walls at the restaurant, so you can see everything. They go outside. The one who looked the most normal, all he had was a pompadour and a bowling shirt, but he leads them outside. And whenever you see a group of people going outside, they're going to smoke a little weed. I mean, you're not fooling anyone. Just do it at the restaurant if it's really so important to you. So he pulls out one of those pencil bags, those plastic pencil bags you would have in school, and unzips it and hands a vape pen to all the members of the party. So they're out there, and I'm just like, oh my God, these people are so obnoxious. So when we go to leave, the whole time, we're kind of giving them, kind of second glances and rolling our eyes and smirking. And when we go to leave, they'd been drinking. The guy with the green hair goes, bye, thanks for coming. Like, oh yeah, we're so shocking. We're gonna freak him out by talking to him. And I knew it was because we thought that they were so subversive and weird, and that's what they wish that we thought. But in reality, these people are losers. If you have green hair and you're not in your teens, or you're not, you know, a rock star or something, if that's your thing, is green hair and dollar bill pants, you are a loser. So please, folks, if you are really weird deep down and you're trying to fit into society, I respect you. You know, I'm kind of in that boat. But if you are not weird, you're just looking for some identity, read a book, get some education, get some opinions, because you're ruining it for the rest of us. You're making it harder for the rest of us to stand out. So that's my message today. But tonight my guest is a guy who was, he's a real G. I don't know him too well, but he does programs here at Dronebox, and just in the little bit we've hung out, I can tell that this guy is a homie. So please welcome my guest tonight. He's a comedian, he's an actor. He goes, well, we'll go into all that. He's got a very cool hat on, some cool tattoos. Gonna hear the story of those. Sean Humphries. No, you're good. Yeah, you need to unmute, and then I'm gonna go over here
and
turn it to 1 o'clock.
Turn it to 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock.
Turn it to 1 o'clock.
That's the interactive portion of the show.
Yes.
Add some fluidity, some movement.
Yeah, they take the ASMR people out of their bubble just for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was here earlier today, Drumbox, and this guy was like, hey, I'm not doing, he did have like a East Coast accent.
Okay.
I'm not trying to make fun of him. It's like, hey, so I see that ASR shows you do. I dated a chick who, she made videos like that, stroking her hair, and do you think people are whacking it to your videos? Like, maybe, that's fine.
That'd be the highest compliment on some level,
Right?
right? Either give me money or please yourself, you know.
It's interactive, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, as a performer, you want to, you know, evoke something.
You want to have an effect on people.
Yes, you're moving them, moving something out of their body. And
Well, you know, I always
helping
think
them.
about with pornography, and there's all sorts of like, even if it's exploitive or whatever,
well, yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
but that's not what I'm debating. However, you know, you talk about virtual reality and stuff like that. You're talking about you wanting your work to have an effect on someone. A porn is a movie you watch, and then you, at the end of it,
Yeah.
you ejaculate at the end of watching it.
If you watch, you know, Beaches or what's that? The Mother Dies of Cancer with Jack Nicholson, and he's the astronaut, and Shirley MacLaine.
Sad movie.
Terms of Endearment.
Terms of Endearment.
Tears coming out of your eyes.
That's the closest you can get.
Yeah.
Or laughter.
The
but
laughter is like kind of like it's a different kind of a exuberance. Yeah, that's interesting. Now I wonder, is there a fourth mode? Like, 'cause like porn is like kind of amorous energy,
Yeah.
sexual energy, sad energy, happy energy. I guess anger is just just screaming or whatever.
A movie that makes you mad.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be cool.
Yeah, right. The movies that make people angry.
Yeah. That's people in a fury.
That would be a kind of amazing new movement,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just to take people to the theater and it's just a movie that just riles everybody up. Yeah, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then people wouldn't be mad that they're angry. No one's going to
No.
complain about,
It's true. It's true. It's that thing where it's like, what is it that's going to provoke them? Is it because you did something kind of immoral on the screen and then they're like angry because of that, or they're caught up in the energy? But hey, we're in California. The only time we get angry is in traffic.
yeah, well, that's the thing. That's they should make one of those. I just got a virtual reality headset,
Yeah.
and they haven't really figured out how to use the form
No.
correctly. But if there was one where you put it on, you're in traffic, it'd be amazing.
And you did it for 10 minutes a day to really fucking scream and yell and get out all that energy, and then you go to work, and then you're pleasant to all your coworkers because you got out all that angst. I think that's a smart idea. The one I kind of play around with is like a iPod for your nose, right? So it would have like little cartridges.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah, like a smell-o-vision.
That is the golden fleece
Right?
of interactive thing. They've been trying to do smell-o-vision for years.
Yeah.
Because smell is the strongest sense
Like
for memory
and all that, yeah.
But the problem is once you get one smell, you can't get rid of it.
How do you change it?
Yeah, that's always been the problem.
Yeah. So I just kind of whatever visualize it in my head as like maybe they're like a little disc and it's a little disc player, and it just has the elements in it. And maybe it's a little vapor, right? Then you have it in your nose. And I always like the idea of like if you had it as a tour of a certain part of the city, you would plug, you'd press play on it, walk through a certain area, and all these smells would come to you, evoking different memories. A little note, I've been taking perfume making classes over in Chinatown, and they do have these little tours where you buy these little vials of perfume and you spray that. It like has like the smell of hay if you're over by the Will Rogers, or it has the smell of like gunpowder if you're where this place where a crime took place. And so they had this tour before Halloween where you would spray all these different perfumes at a certain location. And I was like, that's a really fun, inventive way to use scent in a new kind of way.
I'm into that. Tell me about this perfume making class.
So, and I will take you sometime once I get you can look it up. It's called the Institute of Art and Olfaction, and it's a nonprofit organization that it does outreach to teach people about perfume making. They meet on Wednesday nights from 5:30 to 8:30, and that's their open session. The first session is $40, but that gets you'll leave having made a perfume or a cologne or whatever, a gender-neutral fragrance. They have probably 200 or 300 different kind of prime scents like cinnamon and cut grass, and then you combine them to make a scent for yourself. Since I started at my full-time job, I haven't been able to make it there, but I went to 2 sessions. I made one scent that's kind of maybe a little bit feminine, but it's a kind of very almost masculine flowery thing. Then I made this other one that I call the Devil's Breath, and it's just dark, but it's like it maybe smells like an abusive parent, kind of thing. That kind of like
it's like whiskey,
and darkness to it. But you just play around with you have the little the little droppers, and you have vials, and you kind of build up the scent. It is. I'll say this: I was the only straight guy there. It was mostly gay guys and women, and I was like, and of course, looking like this, they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm really interested in scents and perfume and cologne. And I definitely suggest it to you or any of your viewers.
How'd you get hooked up with this? What made you want to do this?
So probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, do you know over on Melrose Place, there's this crazy perfume shop called Santa Maria Novella?
I think so.
Yeah. It's next to the, not Kenneth Cole, the other designer. He's got his little bookstore there. It's right next door. And I just wandered in there one day and I was like, it's like an apothecary, but it's like beautiful and kind of clean and serene. And I just started smelling these they're just neutral looking bottles, that has their logo on it. It wasn't like a, like when you go to Sephora or whatever, it's all like gaudy and gauche and all that. It was just really pleasant. I started smelling these. I was like, I've never smelled anything like this before. And I bought a $150 bottle of cologne fragrance. I shocked myself. Like, I would never spend that kind of money on something so frivolous. And when I got home, I would just spray it and just kind of like let it kind of affect me, And I realized not only myself, but I think everybody kind of ignores, like you're saying, it's such a powerful primal scent, our sense, and I think that we ignore it and we don't give it the due that it needs. And so I was just like, I wonder if there's a perfume making class in Los Angeles.
So you found this on your own?
Yeah.
It was totally just given to you from within.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm also, one of my ambitions is within the next few years to really design a fragrance that I can put out on the market. Yeah, something, I don't know what right now. Yeah. Okay. But I think there could be the Papagan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that would be? What is What? Because you're a mysterious. To me, you're a mysterious guy.
Oh, thank you very much.
You know, really, it's great. I like there's all these layers and kind of these facets, and I'm like, oh, he's so fascinating. But then you're a native Angelino, right? And I think there's something so interestingly mysterious about LA, and to me, you embody it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Enough about me, though. If you're into weird stores, your story about the perfume store got me thinking. You into Pan Pipes?
Oh, where's that?
It's in Hollywood. It's on Cahuenga.
Okay.
Up south of Hollywood Boulevard. It's a satanic store.
Oh, is it Stanton LaVey's shop?
Does he own it?
He might, but he also had a shop over on Sunset, over by do you know where the Army surplus store is? Yeah, it was right across the street from there. But he had a shop there. Maybe Pan Pipes is that. I will definitely go by there.
They got some cool stuff.
Yeah.
The one time I went, there was a hound in there howling.
Really?
That's a satanic thing.
That's amazing. See, I know you know where all the secret, interesting spots. Like the best I could do is always talk about the Museum of Jurassic Technology.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's great, but it's like I feel like that's like third tier. You've got like second and first tier stuff going on.
I love it. But it's you know, it's like anything else. You do it enough and the novelty wears off.
Well, but also you do it enough, you have everything so back-pocketed that you can sense when the next new thing or the more interesting thing or something that hasn't been uncovered. And that's what, you know, that's what being kind of a little bit of an expert allows you.
Okay.
You know?
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, I think that's what having competence and being an expert is all about, is like, you know all the things that everybody else knows, but then you can also point them in the direction of extra special little things. Yeah.
I think that's what an artist does, is to kind of, Harry Nilsson said, an artist rides ahead of the herd, kind of like scope things out.
Yeah, yeah. I had a literature.
He was a drunk, so
well,
he knows it all.
But I think though there is something about whatever madness, drug addiction, and artistry all goes together, because if we're sensitive artists, it's like the message that we're getting from the universe is so bright and loud. It's like, well, you got to do something to calm that shit down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I am 13 years sober. But I also, at the time when I was a drug addict, didn't know I was an artist. You know what I mean? And as I got sober and kind of reacclimated myself to the world, I realized, oh yeah, I am sensitive, and I do like to have calm space and beautiful, weird things like perfumes and, you know, interesting music, and go and hang out at strange shops, and I think that I'm not a jock, and like, while I love rock and roll and punk rock, sometimes that's just so overwhelming. I'd rather just, you know, watch a Baroque trio, you know, like something like that. You know what I mean?
All the different flavors.
Yeah. And I think there's so much in our culture that is just like one flavor, Bud Light, drink it, and you know, and that's not for me.
There is something to, just to play devil's advocate. There is something to be said for the thing that's like the standard.
Yes.
Like, I like a Bud Light.
Sure. Once in a while.
No, I actually prefer it to like I know you're sober, but
craft
like
beer.
the craft beer, because I've never gone to a liquor store and been like, there's not a kind of beer I like. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
So I think there is something to be said for having a limited amount of choice. Because when there's too many choices, then it becomes overwhelming.
Overwhelming,
It's
absolutely.
that balance. Too many choices is no choice.
I'd also say like that on certain things, like just knowing I'm fine with Bud Light, like having that inside. Then you don't have to worry about it, and it's there, and you can think about other things. You can, you know, kind of let your mind go in other places. But if you're, and I think I'm gonna get into conspiracy a little bit here. Okay. I think that being overwhelmed by choices is one of the ways that they control us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And having people identify with their brands, and they're getting upset when the brand isn't just right and all that, and or being cliquish with the people that dress like you, or I think that's how it's keeping us from coming together and being kind of like a strong community. Whatever. That would be all corny.
No, I like that, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was just thinking about, because there are so many levels to this control that's going on that I think even the controllers don't even realize. It's gotten so
intense.
There's just so many because they're trying to recontrol and control their other rich guys and stuff. But I was in downtown LA, and you know, it's like changing or whatever. It's like becoming nicer,
gentrified.
Right. That urban renewal thing is such a phony baloney scam that people just swallow hook, line, and sinker and don't even realize.
It's better if we have new buildings.
Why?
It's better.
Who's it better for?
Not for me. Not for you.
No.
Yeah.
They put a Whole Foods in downtown, and everyone went nuts. Wait, great. So a rich guy can open up another grocery store? And they're just making more places for like the same businesses that are everywhere, for people who are already rich.
It's interesting that when you bring that up, and then the media advertises it as if it is a good thing, thus perpetuating this rich guy ideal. So you remember was about 10 months ago? Was it the Venetian Versailles that
Front town? Hell yeah, that was me.
But I hope he made a pretty penny on that, because I am absolutely sure that was an insurance scam.
Oh yeah, it could have been. I torched it.
So you were able to buy a new car, but you know, somebody else made the big bucks on it. Yeah. No, but that's exactly, this guy's making exactly the same buildings all over LA, nothing really imaginative or interesting about the architecture, and just jamming whatever 350 yuppies into one building, you know. And it's like, okay, great, we have to house the yuppies somewhere, we have to warehouse them, but can't we have a little more imagination and allow people to have interesting spaces? Because this is just, to me, an architectural abortion. You know, they're trying to make people feel like they're making a unique choice within the parameters of it being just like everything else.
And then what it replaces, people are like, oh, it's just some dumpy buildings, some like blanket storefronts. No, those are people who have importing, exporting businesses. Those are people who have print shops. Those are real independent businesses.
The base of the pyramid, you know, of society. You know, that's why I appreciate this place so much, because they're repurposing the architecture rather than demolishing it and starting over.
Exactly. They built this great old West town.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. We're not gentrifying. We're countrifying.
Gentrify.
Get out of my town.
I would move to that town.
Oh, heck yeah. Did you know where Bodie is?
Yeah.
It's just beautiful, weathered, you know, wind-blown buildings. I mean, yeah, nobody's out there, nobody lives there, and you can't probably get any McDonald's. But I just love the beautiful decay, you know. Yeah, decay is one of my favorite. Being a local at Angelino, do you know about the Dominator? It's a shipwreck out in Palo Verde Peninsula. So it was a Greek fishing boat. You're of Greek descent, right?
No.
No? Papagan's not?
No, it was originally Papagan. It was Italian. Switched it around.
It feels Greek, but...
Greek or Irish.
Irish.
Like the Gan at the end, Flanagan.
So it was a Greek rice shipping boat. They had wheat and rice in it, and it was coming around the point over there at San Vicente Point, and it ran aground. This was 1961, and over the next 40 years, it slowly came ashore and just kind of crumpled and rusted into the shore. It is beautiful. Right at the beginning, it changed the flora and the fauna of the area because the vermin were going and eating all the stuff that the boat coughed up, and then it kind of grew more plants and there were more predators, so that whole area's environment changed because of the shipwreck, and now there's just this big giant hunk of rusted metal on the shore. It's a tough hike to get out there, but it's one of these kind of beautiful, it's like seeing nature kind of take back its own. Yeah,
I like that.
I love that, yeah. It's, you know, it's a good hike. It's also one of those things where if I take a young lady on a date there or something, like a hiking date, it's kind of like a test.
Oh yeah, the test date.
Exactly.
Love the test date.
Yeah, right? It's like, can she handle it? Is this something that she'd find fun? You know, was she going to be a whiner? Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. If you ever want to go, let me know. We can go out for a hike.
I hope I pass the test.
Oh.
So Sean, where are you from?
I grew up in Lakewood.
Oh, okay, so you're from SoCal too.
SoCal, yeah.
God, okay.
Yeah, it's rare to find local boys.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about geography so much.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of become a pet peeve of mine.
Geography.
Lately. Just like these inane conversations about
which
geography.
freeway to take.
Yeah, it's just the same strip mall over and over again. It's true. It really is true what they say about this being a wasteland.
But it's, to me,
It's home.
It's home, and it's the most beautiful wasteland, and you get, I don't like the cold. I don't like whatever real weather too much. I mean, we're going to get the El Nino, and that'll be
so happy for the El Nino.
Yeah, me too. I love the Santa Anas and the El Nino. I mean, those are like, they're terrifying and potentially could destroy a lot of shit.
That's good.
Yeah, right?
Because from destruction comes rebirth, the
Exactly.
phoenix.
Oh my God, we're on the same wavelength.
After the El Nino in the 90s, what happened? .com boom.
Right.
Yeah.
That may be correlative, not causative, but still.
Same thing.
Right?
Right?
So
All I know is we got shockwave.com
right
out of that.
and,
we got
Pandora.
pets.com.
No, that's true. Now, I want to think, though, what could come from the next El Nino? Is it going to be a tech revolution? I think we're in the middle of a media revolution right here.
We're peak television is what they call it.
Peak television,
There's too much television right now. It's going to be a die-off.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Me too. And I also look forward to the epic failures that are going to be hitting the screen soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they are desperate. And out of that desperation, people are going to make some bizarre choices. Yeah. Do you remember there was a Comedy Central show where the guy was on a Lazy Susan stage, and he would turn it, and he'd go into the next scene and the next scene. It was not TV Funhouse, but yeah.
It was like a sketch show?
It was basically a sketch show, yeah. And he just had this, and then the stage would rotate, and he'd go into the next scene and do it. And it was basically a live hour where he went from stage to stage to stage. And I feel like those are those little cracks in the status quo that, I mean, I even feel like this thing that you're doing here is a crack in the status quo. You know, you've got this very specific thing that you're doing, and it's pleasurable. It's like a nice tea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot.
Yeah.
You really don't. My roommates they get stressed out about trying to watch Fargo. They're like, oh, did you download the new episode? Is that here? Oh, it's not on here. How are we gonna get it? How are we gonna get the episode? If they didn't see it in time, they get stressed out. They're stressed out when the new one, and then, no, it's almost over now. Oh, there's only 2 Fargos left. They spend so much time thinking about Fargo, and then it takes an hour to watch. Meanwhile, if everyone's hanging out in the living room, if I turn on the antenna, you can just flip through the channels for hours.
Yeah.
Same energy usage. Yeah. You're just trying to watch some TV.
I would say, though, as you and I as content creators, it's good that there are sheep out there that have that energy. You know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the day, that's who's, you're trying to make like a couple of hipsters laugh, or you're trying to make like
something important.
You're trying to make like Larry the Cable Guy money.
I'm not sure, but that's the ultimate question, right? Do you have to sell your soul? Do you have to go from being Dan, whatever his real name is, to Larry the Cable Guy, kind of like invert who you really are just to pander to a certain audience? Or can you be a visionary and still be able to be supported by your art? And I would say it's a continuum. It's not an either or, right? Because I think there are people somewhere that still have integrity and are still making good money, You know who I think has it all figured out? Jay Leno. Kinda, yeah. He's only has two interests, comedy and cars. He never has to think about what he's going to wear. He just has denim. Yeah. He knows what he likes. Yeah.
And so he eats a bunch of junk food all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
And he doesn't see, it seems like he loves Mavis. Like he's not the kind of philanderer,
No.
kind of creepy type. He's talented enough and that he can feed his soul with his talent, you know.
But he also doesn't need to do a stand-up special. He's never done a stand-up special.
He just got onto the Tonight Show and that was
Yeah.
it. He was there. I'm done. I think that there's people kind of like even most of the late night guys I feel like are like that too. Once they lose that kind of anxiety of having to strive and they just settle into being in their career. Yeah, that would be pretty gratifying, do you think, to have your own, you know, 4-night
Oh yeah, absolutely.
show, right?
Yeah, it's like the easiest job in the world.
Yeah, you just hire a bunch of writers and camera people, and they tell you what to do, and you can say yes or no, and yeah, let's figure this out.
Yes. That's the way to do it.
I think, yeah, that's that Dire Straits song. Look at that sucker. Money for nothing and the checks for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for money for nothing.
Well, and I've had a lot of various scams in my life. I used to be a drug dealer.
Sure, yeah. Oh, let's talk about that. What'd you deal? What's the action?
Mostly meth.
Okay.
Yeah, so when Breaking Bad came on TV, I was a little like, I mean, I got it. He was a science guy coming into the criminal world. But they didn't even deal with the tweakers and the weird sores and losing their teeth and all the real shit that happens when you're on meth. They only dealt with the real kind of sexy dealing with Mexican gangs and blowing up your lab. They didn't deal with, I mean, even what's his head and their friends, they weren't real tweakers, you know. I knew some real tweakers. I knew a guy that mostly I was dealing to him, but sometimes he would deal to me. The only time we could talk about drugs was when we were standing over his engine with the hood open and it running because everywhere else in his house was bugged. Yes. That's, you know, I don't know if it was or not.
That's what he thought.
But that's what he thought. And I think it was because he was so spun, because he had speed psychosis really bad. I've had so many people in my life that had really bad speed psychosis. But he was the one that was the most interesting. And then I knew a guy he'd make these little interesting pieces of just tweaker art. It would be like a razor blade wrapped with a paper clip, have a piece of paper shoved into it, and he'd set it down there, and that was his little piece of tweaker origami. I had wrenchers, guys who would just like do a bunch of meth and just wrench on their cars all day and all night. I knew like a bunch of construction guys. I knew a bunch of Mexican guys that were gangsters, and the only place that they could get meth was from white boys. That was kind of interesting. And I have a formula. So if your viewers out there, oh, they put us in a crack house.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you need to survive on meth, the thing that you do is you need to close your eyes for at least an hour a day, because you're kind of counteracting that staying awake all the time. You need to drink water, hydrate, because you will naturally dehydrate, and you need to eat a little bit of food. I went for about 6 months, just closing my eyes for an hour every day without getting crazy on the speed. So if you need...
God, why did you ever quit? Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Because I lost a tooth, this one right here, just one. I mean, compared to so many, I have my friend Tweaker Tony, he lost his whole grill from smoking speed. We would find him just kind of wandering around Lakewood, and he would just be like zombied out on speed, you know, wearing his Junko jeans and having his crazy hair, giant sores all over his face. In his apartment building, before they kicked him out, he had stolen every single light bulb from the hallways to smoke meth in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you do that? You kind of like freebase it?
So kind of, yeah. So you want to have the glass. Let's get all into the nitty gritty of it. So you break the end of it and you drop the speed into the kind of the hole, and eventually the whole thing cracks because you heat it up. But you want to have a clean surface to put the meth on, and you light it up and you have a straw into the thing, and it bubbles up, and you move it around to get the fresh surface, and then the smoke comes off of it and you get high. And that actually is the smoke from meth is actually what causes the erosion in your teeth because it's a chemical that will melt enamel. So snorting it is bad for your sinuses and your throat and all that, and your epiglottis and your uvula and all that. But it's the smoking it that makes everybody's teeth fall out.
Meth and speed are the same thing, but that's different than crack?
Crack? So
crack is like cocaine, but you
crack
smoke
is
it?
cocaine that you smoke. So cocaine is powdered coca leaf that's been distilled. Then freebase is smoking powdered cocaine. Then crack is powdered cocaine that's had baking powder added to it to put it into a rock form. Makes it more addictive and you get higher faster and you use less. So it's a way of augmenting.
Cheaper.
So it's cheaper. So meth started off with amphetamines, which were popular in the 30s.
Yeah.
30s and 40s. The Germans were into it. Then eventually, in the 50s and 60s, the formula got out and people started stealing the pharmaceutical, and then it started getting produced in the 60s by biker gangs, and it turned into different kinds of, so there's the basic meth is the stuff that you'd see in Breaking Bad, which is if it gets that clean, yes, I guess it turns blue. I saw one blue bag when I was tweaking, and it was great. So we used to call that crystal, which was really crystalline and clean, and you could do it and just be high without having like the crankiness and the come down. Then eventually it evolved into the stuff that we called crank, which was more like trucker tweaker speed, and it was stepped on with something, and it made you feel all cranky and kind of angry. And I think that's what's popular now, is the crank rather than the real clean crystal. Yeah.
Is that the same as glass?
Glass. Well, and then there's ice, which is like super speed. It's where they've taken the amphetamine and distilled it down even more. So you can smoke that. Here's a crazy story. September 11th, 2001, we found a bag of ice at a gas station, and my friend picked it up. He thought it was speed. We smoked it up, and we were fucking high for a week after smoking that. And of course, add to the paranoia that was going on September 11th anyways, and we were just whacked out of our heads. That was the beginning of the end for me. Between all the kind of the meth and the ice and crack I was doing during that period of time, all of my usage skyrocketed to the ceiling. I was a total degenerate addict. I got sober April 1st, 2002, after a 6-month period of just being totally whacked out. But also being a drug dealer during that time, everybody I knew was doubling and tripling their consumption. And I worked at a bar too, and it went from like just everybody kind of hanging out and drinking to crazy over-the-top drinking every night for about, like I said, from September 11th to about January 4th or 5th of that year. People were fucked up. It's a weird thing to see, though. But you were a kid.
Yeah, I was in middle school.
So it was traumatic, but it didn't have that same kind of like, oh shit, something happened to America.
We gotta get some glass.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a really, I feel like I was on the like seeing the inside of a phenomenon. And I've talked to people that were in New York that were users at that time, and they said it was the same thing, that like heroin addiction and crack use just was skyrocketing at that time. You are a great interviewer, sir.
Adds to that inside job theory.
Yeah.
If the same people who said September 11th also invented crack. You know, that is true though. The CIA did invent crack.
Well, they I think crack was around, but they were the ones that pushed cocaine onto the black market, African American market, to suppress. See, because I think that there is the bigger conspiracies is like you give heroin or opium to Chinese people. That's how the British, during the tea wars, the opium wars, the British wanted tea. They flooded the Chinese market with opium so that they could get as much tea as they wanted for cheap. So it's as old as the British Empire.
The ISIS attackers, they drug them off on tranquilizers.
Yeah.
You know, you hear like they're very calm and methodical. It's because they're all like
drugged up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insidious if you think about it. And what one can do, whether intentionally or unintentionally, or you know, it's like the hashishin. Does that? So there was a kind of a offshoot of a Muslim cult in the 10th century called the hashishin. They were the first assassins, like politically organized. They would go to whatever, Persia, kill a Persian prince, and come back. And the way these guys were trained is they had a bunch of hash, and that's where they got the name the hashishin from, because they were hash users. And Hassan-i Sabah was his name. He was the kind of the charismatic leader. He would tell them that they would go to heaven if they would follow his orders and kill these people. And he had this crazy scam set up where he'd get them super high and they'd pass out. And when they woke up, he had this room decked out to be like rivers of alcohol and candy. Like it was set design and women for them to fuck. So they would wake up in this place and then they'd pass out again, and he'd take them out and he'd say, I can take you back there, but you must go and assassinate this guy. So he was using drugs and sex to create an army of assassins. So I think the ISIS is taking a page out of his book.
Because they're very good at marketing.
Oh, heck yeah. I feel like somebody did some production designer came in, he's like, guys, you need to have like the black hoods, but you have to have
that flag they had is scary.
Right. I mean, I could feel like there's some gay guys like, here's what we got to do. You got to take it up black and white. That's distinct dark colors. Arabic, nobody knows what it says. It could say anything. That would be a great sketch. The fashion designer for ISIS.
Their marketing.
Yeah.
Good. Everybody get in here. So Sean, I noticed you're very active on Facebook.
Oh God, I'm a crazy person. I am. It's probably an addiction. Like now that
I was gonna say, is that how you substituted it?
I think so. I think it's also one of those things because, probably like 50 posts a day, at least for me.
Yeah. I like them though.
Well, good.
It's good stuff.
And I like the GIFs, the goofy GIFs, and then I'll try to at least have 2 or 3 original thoughts inside of all the Bernie Sanders and all the GIFs. And I think what it is, I think it's multiple levels for me. I think, yes, I want to entertain people and have a community, have people talking and doing stuff. I also, the only place I get my news anymore is really through my Facebook. So I try to have interesting people that I'm Facebook friends with so that they can kind of curate a more, it's not what you're going to see on the news. It's a different kind of message. And I feel like I know a few smarty pants. I know like some rocket scientists and neuroscientists and stuff. So sometimes something interesting comes down. Mostly it's just jackasses. But then the other thing is, from the addictive standpoint, if I don't have something actively in front of me at work, it's just go to the Facebook. And there's a part of me that, yes, wants to maybe curb that. And I've noticed that when I'm working and when I'm really active, it's gone. But I don't know what else to, like, since I don't drink or smoke pot or do coke or crack or meth anymore, and I've chilled out on my sex addiction. Not that we all need addictions,
some more than others.
Yeah. But it feels like that's some way that I can engage in the world without having to go to a bar or hang out and smoke pot. And, because I think that there's a lot of ways personally, and even eating, like going out and eating with friends. I mean, come on, how much can I go out and have garbage food? And, you know what I mean? Like, so at least it's relatively harmless.
I think it's totally harmless.
Well, I will tell you a story.
Okay, go ahead.
So at my last gig, I was working at a really corporate reality show company. It's called Kinetic Concepts. They're owned by a German conglomerate. I was a post coordinator. Normally I'm a post-production supervisor, which it's my department and I run things, but I hadn't had a job in a few months, so I was like, I just need to make some money. My boss she was not good at her job. She was one of those people that worried over everything. She could get the job done, but everything was like, worry, worry, worry. I am the opposite. I give off just the mellowest vibe. We can take care of it. This is going to be great. Because she was so intense, I started posting on Facebook passive-aggressive comments about her. On my second to last day, she brought out a piece of paper, and she had printed up about 10 of these things that I had said about her. And I apologized right away. I was like, this was inappropriate. I'm sorry. I absolutely take responsibility. But then at the end of it, she said I had said something, whatever, off color. I was talking about sex or whatever. And she says, that's not appropriate. And that's where I was like, I just shrugged, like, you can't tell me what's appropriate or not on my wall when you're spying on me on my wall. So, yes, I burned a bridge. It's probably a bridge I wanted to burn. I don't know if I wanted to work with her anymore, ever again. I'd also say that mostly harmless, and it becomes a filter. Meaning, if you don't get me on Facebook and kind of how silly and ridiculous and over the top I can be, we probably wouldn't work well together. So
Exactly.
filter me out. Don't hire me. Look at my Facebook and then decide not to hire me. You know. So thank you for asking that question. It kind of like helped me kind of dig up what's really going on with my crazy brain on Facebook.
Well, hopefully we can get into your Instagram next time you're on the show. Now we're just about out of time.
Wow.
Any thing you're working on you want to tell people about where they can find you other than Facebook?
Yeah, well,
it's a great feed.
Yeah, find me on Facebook, L Hump on Facebook. You'll know it's me because I'm sitting on a toilet in my Facebook pic. So it used to be me in a demon or a goat mask. But I don't know when my next one's going to be, but the Atheist Televangelist is my show.
Yeah, get to that.
And you know, it's hit and miss right now. I'm trying to get the confidence and regularity that you have.
You know, toilet regularity. There's something there. But we are out of time, so let's just end right now until we got another minute. No, there's gotta be more.
Well, okay.
That was very
Watch TV. Toy Story is having a 20th anniversary. That's the show I'm working on. It's going to broadcast on December 10th. I don't need to shill for ABC, but it is going to be a great show. Yeah,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good that we know that it's going to be
good.
It's
good, and I'm not very. I work in a lot of TV, and it's actually something I'm really proud of.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And you know, we're on your drum box. I want to see that televangelist
The
show.
Atheist Televangelist. I've got to negotiate with Nolan about when my next one is, but the last in another month. In a month, guys.
Well,
yeah.
folks, hopefully you'll be back before a month. Until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.